Here are 3 easy drills to help with your kipping muscle up. This first exercise here is a PVC pull down. Essentially what we're trying to do is understand lat activation. So what we're going to do is lay down on the ground underneath a rig point. You'll attach a band. The tension of the band should actually start fairly light at first and then build up to something more aggressive. You're going to lay down on your back in a really nice hollow position where your eyes are on your toes. From there, you're going to pull down aggressively that PVC down towards your hips and then allow that band to pull you back into a vertical arm position. I really want you to try to maintain that hollow position throughout each of the reps and holding that PVC as close to your hips as you possibly can for a good 5 to 10 seconds to make sure you're understanding how that engagement needs to happen. This type of a pull down is going to be critical as we start to apply it to something a little more straight arm with our bar muscle up. Okay, this next drill is a really good one, but the setup is really important. All right, so the way this works, again, we need a PVC, but 2 bands this time. So we have a little open space in the middle for our torso to come through. The band should be very light. Let's wrap an equal band on either side, PVC running through both bands, and then set up a bench underneath the rig point. The bench should be a little bit behind the rig, and what you're going to do is start in a laying down position, mimicking the front part of the swing and something like a glide kip. From there, you'll rock back and forth, slowly bringing your heels down to the ground, and at the same time, pulling the PVC into your hips as you get those shoulders to land on top of that bar. So it's going to essentially react and act in the same way that you're trying to turn over when you're doing a bar muscle up. Starting out slow, and then slowly building into something more aggressive. What we're doing with this drill is trying to build a pattern, a movement pattern around going from the front part of the swing to finishing on top of that bar. This pattern goes a long way to eventually applying it to the actual bar muscle up. Another drill that goes a long way in understanding how to apply it to eventual bar muscle up is a kip swing into a lat activated pull. The purpose of this drill is timing, making sure that you don't pull too soon. If you're working on this movement, you're going to allow the arch to happen in the front part of the swing. When you get to the back part of the swing, when you're in the hollow, you pull down aggressively on that bar, trying to maintain a straight arm position as long as possible to make sure the lats are doing the work as opposed to the extremity, and then come back into that next rep of the swing. This type of lat activation will go a long way in being patient before you start to pull from the extremity, but also work towards more straight arm pull work to an eventual bar muscle up that's completely done with straight arms. This particular building drill is to help you understand that a chin over the bar, chest to bar, belly button to bar, and a full bar muscle up are the same movement along one single continuum. This video is pretty interesting in terms of what I'm trying to do here. As I go from the bottom to the top, you'll notice that I'm releasing the bar just slightly enough to get my wrist turned over so that I can go from a pull to a push and land on top of the bar in a really secure position. This bar muscle up variation is much more swing-based bar muscle up. It lets you use the momentum of the swing as opposed to using so much of the extremity pull. It's much more lat activated. The wall in front of me is limiting my swing a little bit, but this is what you would generally see in the gymnastics world in terms of bar muscle up. Let the swing do the work. Here are some great accessory drills that can help with your strict bar muscle up. This particular drill really helps with understanding the importance of using a false grip with your strict bar muscle up. I think most people, when they're doing strict bar muscle up for the first time, try to do it in a neutral grip position, and it's extremely challenging. It's one of those things that unless you have a pull that's through the roof, it really won't help you. So what we want to be thinking about doing is giving ourselves a little bit of a mechanical advantage through that false grip. Now what we can do to make sure that we're making the focus the forearms as opposed to the grip is putting something in our hand. So the way we do that, we take a lacrosse ball or a tennis ball, and you can take one in each hand, hang it over the bar, and try to hang completely from that crease in your wrist. The goal will be to try to get that forearm to engage, try to get the elbows to be fully locked out in that false grip while you're hanging. If you can apply this false grip to a nice straight bar position, your false grip is actually going to become stronger, and it's going to be making that strict bar muscle up that much more easy. Another area of the bar muscle up that most people neglect is what happens when you get on top of the bar. It becomes a push. And that push is very specific. It's a little bit different because your hands are in a position that are different than maybe how you do a push-up or a dip in the past. So one way we can address this type of a pushing position is by lining up 2 parallettes and putting them in a straight line so that you're pushing in a very similar way when you're above the bar. This type of pushing position and this type of pushing mechanic will translate into what happens when you get above the bar so you're more prepared and more ready for the completion of that bar muscle up. But one way to be thinking about trying to become more aggressive with a strict bar muscle up is working on explosive pulls. From that straight arm hang, from that passive position, in that extended open shoulder position, fully extended, you're going to be trying to blast off. But let's see if you can get your sternum. Let's see if you can get your belly button and beyond above the bar. If you can pull to a position from that strict hang all the way to the belly button, bar muscle up is going to be no problem. Another great way to attack the strict bar muscle up is to actually work top down. How many of you guys are actually working on the negatives? Probably not many. If you're working on only the way up, you're missing out on a really important piece of training when it comes to that strict bar muscle up. The goal with this one is to start above the bar. So make sure you set up a box that's close by so getting above the bar isn't too much of an issue. I'm more worried about what happens on the way down. Slowing things down. You want to make sure the bar's staying close, but making sure your shirt doesn't get caught around the bar, slowly lowering yourself down to the bottom part of the dip, rotating back slowly, trying to re-engage your false grip as you come back down through to your hang, and seeing if you can re-engage that false grip all the way down through a lock the elbow position into your hang. Working on the descent is going to be just as important as working on the ascent when it comes to your strict bar muscle up.